Are you ready for what could be the most devastating ice storm in over a decade? Because in the next 4 minutes, I am going to show you exactly where this catastrophic winter event will hit hardest and why 72 hours from now, over 15 million Americans could be sitting in the dark without power. This is not a drill. This is not hype. This is happening right now, and if you live anywhere from Texas to Maine, the next 30 seconds could save your family from a week-long nightmare. Here is what we know at this exact moment. 2 massive zones are about to get hammered with ice accumulation that meteorologists are calling historic. The first hotspot stretches from northern Louisiana through southern Arkansas into western Tennessee. The second danger zone covers the entire state of North Carolina, northwest South Carolina, northeast Georgia, and southern Virginia. Between these two areas, we are looking at ice accumulation exceeding 3/4 of an inch in some locations. Let me put that in perspective for you. 1/2 inch of ice is enough to snap tree branches. 3/4 of an inch will bring down entire trees onto power lines. 1 inch of ice, that is catastrophic infrastructure damage that takes weeks to repair. And here is the shocking part. The most reliable forecasting model, the European model, is showing this ice storm lasting 12 hours or longer in the hardest hit areas. 12 continuous hours of freezing rain coating everything it touches. But wait, because there is more you need to know, and I promise you, at the 5-minute mark, I am going to reveal the exact timeline for when this storm hits your state. Right now, as we speak, this storm system is organizing over the southern plains. By 1 a.m. Saturday morning, January 24th, heavy snow will be pounding Kansas, while a thin band of mixed precipitation, including freezing rain, develops over the Red River Valley. Dallas starts as cold rain, but here is the twist nobody saw coming. Within hours, that rain transforms into freezing rain. Then the situation escalates rapidly. By mid-morning Saturday, a huge area of freezing rain expands into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Snow becomes heavier across the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, pushing into Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. This is when the storm splits into 2 distinct threats. The first wave of significant heavy snow races past St. Louis into Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. Bowling Green, Kentucky gets absolutely hammered Saturday evening. Louisville, Kentucky up towards Indianapolis sees major accumulation. But just south of that snow band, something far more dangerous develops. West Tennessee, northern Mississippi, southern Arkansas, northeast Texas, and northern Louisiana become ground zero for what experts are calling a devastating ice event. Why? Not because of rainfall intensity, but because of duration. These areas face 12 hours or more of continuous freezing rain. Power lines cannot survive that kind of sustained ice loading. Now you might be thinking, what about my area? Stay with me, because in just 90 seconds, I am going to break down the weather forecast for 30 major states. But first, you need to understand what makes this storm so uniquely dangerous. By 10 a.m. Sunday morning, the second ice storm hotspot explodes across the southeast. The European model lights up like a Christmas tree, showing heavy freezing rain across northeast Georgia, northwest South Carolina, the entire state of North Carolina, and a huge portion of Virginia southeast of the Appalachian Mountains. This region has significant cold air damming, which creates the perfect recipe for a prolific ice storm. More than 1/2 inch of ice becomes possible in a short time period. Trees on those hills will crash down. Power lines will snap. Millions will lose electricity in temperatures well below freezing. Here is something critical that just changed in the last 24 hours. A few days ago, models showed 2 feet of snow for Middle Tennessee and Eastern Tennessee. That forecast completely shifted. Now those same areas face a warm nose of air that brings mixed precipitation instead of pure snow. Some people are upset about this change, but this is exactly how weather forecasting works. Storm systems 4 to 6 days out always have fluctuations. In fact, the latest models are showing a slight shift southward after a major northward trend. We are getting closer to storm start time, so forecasts are becoming more accurate, but small shifts of 20 miles can completely change what falls from the sky in your backyard. Let me give you the straight truth about the Northeast, because this part of the forecast just locked in. The interior Northeast, including Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, you are getting buried in snow, no question about it. The model agreement is overwhelming, but here is where it gets tricky. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, these cities sit right on the line between snow and mixed precipitation. If you end up on the cold side of this system, you are looking at the biggest snowstorm in a decade for D.C. and New Jersey, no doubt whatsoever. But there are problems with icing and rain mixing in. This storm finally exits on Monday night. By Tuesday, the only thing we will be talking about is how cold it is, how much snow needs shoveling, and how many people are without power. Now, as promised at the 5-minute mark, here is your state-by-state breakdown. Comment below where you live, and I will give you updated details as new model runs come in. Texas, Dallas, and Fort Worth start with cold rain Friday night, transitioning to freezing rain by early Saturday. Northern Texas Panhandle sees 7 to 9 inches of snow. Amarillo could exceed 1 foot in some locations. Northeast Texas faces the ice storm of the decade with potential power outages lasting over a week. Oklahoma City sits in a narrow band that could deliver 8 to 12 inches of snow. The Panhandle gets hammered with heavy snow, while southern Oklahoma deals with significant ice accumulation. Arkansas. Northern Arkansas faces catastrophic ice. Little Rock gets a nightmare scenario of 2 to 4 inches of snow, 2 to 4 inches of sleet, and a 1/4 inch of ice on top of everything. Southern portions could see ice accumulation exceeding 3/4 of an inch. Louisiana. Northern Louisiana is in the bullseye for historic ice. 12+ hours of freezing rain. Power outages lasting more than a week are likely. This is an emergency preparation situation right now. Mississippi. Northern Mississippi, especially around Tupelo, faces 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation. Southern portions see significant but lesser ice amounts. Power grid failure is expected in multiple counties. Tennessee. This state has the sharpest cutoff line in the entire forecast. Nashville could see anything from 1 to 7 inches of snow depending on where that warm air boundary sets up. The north side of Nashville might get 3 to 4 inches, while the south side gets 1 inch. Clarksville could receive 5 to 6 inches. Bowling Green pushes 7 inches. Western Tennessee faces severe ice accumulation. Middle Tennessee sits on the knife edge between snow and ice. Eastern Tennessee sees mixed precipitation with less snow than originally forecast. Kentucky. Lexington looks like close to a foot of snow. Louisville expects heavy snow Saturday evening. Bowling Green gets thumped. The Cumberland Plateau has pockets that might miss significant icing due to warm air infiltration, but most of the state needs to prepare for winter storm conditions. Some southeastern areas face that warm nose bringing mixed precipitation. Missouri. Kansas City could see 3 to 6 inches of snow, but if the storm tracks farther north, 8 inches is on the table. St. Louis sits in a similar position. Springfield might see close to 10 inches. Jackson is a shoe-in for 10 inches minimum at Kansas. Wichita can bank on at least 8 inches. The eastern portions of the state see significant accumulation, with some areas exceeding 1 foot. Indiana. Indianapolis expects 6 to 9 inches. The southern portions of the state see heavier totals. Northern Indiana gets less, but still significant snow. Ohio. Cincinnati sees close to a foot. Columbus gets 10 inches. Dayton receives 10 inches. The Ohio River Valley becomes a hot spot for heavy snow accumulation. West Virginia. Northern areas see over a foot of snow. Southern regions deal with mixed precipitation and ice. Virginia. This state splits dramatically. Northern Virginia and areas near Washington, D.C. could see over a foot of snow. Richmond gets closer to the warm line with 6 to 9 inches possible, but could see less. Southern Virginia, east of the mountains, faces significant ice accumulation exceeding 1/2 inch in some locations. North Carolina. This is ice storm ground zero number 2. The entire state faces significant icing except for the mountains, which see heavy snow. Ice accumulation of 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch is expected across most of the state. Power outages will be widespread and long-lasting. Cold air damming east of the Appalachians creates perfect conditions for catastrophic ice. South Carolina. Northwest portions face severe ice accumulation. The rest of the state sees mixed precipitation, with ice being the primary concern. Georgia. Northeast Georgia faces significant ice. 1/2 inch or more is possible. Power infrastructure will take major hits. Atlanta sits on the southern edge but could still see winter weather impacts. Maryland. Hagerstown and Frederick are shoe-ins for over a foot of snow. Baltimore sits in the tricky forecast zone where totals depend on exact storm track. Could range from 6 inches to 14 inches. Delaware. Northern portions see significant snow. Southern areas sit closer to the rain-snow line, Pennsylvania. Harrisburg, Allentown, and Scranton expect over a foot of snow. Philadelphia sits in the hardest place on Earth to forecast, but significant winter storm with mostly snow is likely. Interior Pennsylvania gets buried. New Jersey. Northern areas could see the biggest snowstorm in a decade if the cold air wins. Southern portions sit on the boundary. Expect significant winter weather regardless. New York. New York City is in that impossible forecast zone. Could see anywhere from 4 inches to 14 inches depending on tiny shifts in storm track. Upstate New York and interior areas get hammered with over a foot of snow. Albany, Pittsfield, and surrounding areas expect major accumulation. Connecticut. Hartford and interior areas see heavy snow. Coastal areas sit on the boundary, but significant winter weather is expected. Rhode Island. Providence and surrounding areas expect significant snow. Exact amounts depend on storm track, but plan for major winter storm, Massachusetts. Boston could see major snowfall if the pattern holds. Plymouth, Worcester, and interior areas get significant accumulation. This could be the biggest snowstorm in a decade for much of the state. Vermont. Burlington and statewide areas are getting buried. Over a foot of snow is likely across most of the state. New Hampshire, statewide heavy snow expected. Manchester, Concord, and Portsmouth all see significant accumulation. Maine. Portland and interior areas see major snowfall. Northern Maine gets the heaviest totals. The Atlantic coastal cities from Washington, D.C. to Boston represent the toughest forecast challenge on Earth. Multiple factors make this region nearly impossible to predict with precision. The Atlantic Ocean, the Great Lakes, high-pressure systems from Canada, Gulf moisture, and the Appalachian Mountains all converge here. Supercomputers struggle. Experts struggle. Everyone struggles. If you live here and feel like weather forecasts are always wrong, you are more right than people anywhere else because it is genuinely more difficult. But here is what we know right now with high confidence. A significant winter storm with mostly snow is heading toward the major cities. Current models suggest meaningful accumulation. The European AI Ensemble model, which does an excellent job of narrowing down corridors, shows very sharp cutoffs. Between Oklahoma City and Bentonville, a foot of snow. Dallas gets only an inch or 2. Memphis sees 3 inches. Mountain Home gets 11 inches. The Ohio River Valley lights up as a hotspot with a foot in Lexington, Louisville, Evansville, and Cincinnati. Columbus and Indianapolis see 8 to 9 inches. That warm air boundary creates razor-sharp gradients. The south side of Nashville could get 1 inch while the north side gets 3 to 4 inches. Clarksville gets 5. Bowling Green gets 7. That line can still move south or north by 20 miles and change everything for millions of people. For the Northeast, the European AI model shows the most significant snow totals slightly inland from the coast, but Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston still receive a decent thumping of snow. This represents a more realistic view than some of the more aggressive model runs. Now here is what you need to do right now, today, before it is too late. If you live in northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, or middle Tennessee, you must finalize preparations immediately. It is almost too late. Grocery stores are already seeing runs on supplies. Get your essentials now. If you live in North Carolina, South Carolina, Northeast Georgia, or Southern Virginia in the ice zone, same situation. Days without power are coming. Lots of people will lose electricity for more than a week. The national blend of models, which is supposed to be a conservative forecast, is showing close to 1 inch of ice accretion near the Mississippi River. Even 3/4 of an inch around Tupelo is devastating. Over ½ an inch of ice reaches all the way into portions of Middle Tennessee close to Nashville. These are not exaggerated numbers. This is the conservative forecast. Anywhere shown in pink on ice accumulation maps requires immediate preparation. Get ready for days without power. This is the reality we are about to face. Even areas not in the darkest pink need preparation. Generators should be ready, batteries charged, food stocked, water available, medications secured. This is not about panic. This is about practical preparation for a known threat. Snow forecasts show fun, exciting weather for many areas. Snow is still dangerous, but not as life-threatening as ice and power outages. The national blend of models shows 7 to 9 inches between Amarillo and Oklahoma City, with some locations exceeding 1 foot. That section is probably underdone by this forecast. A band of higher snow totals will fall somewhere in that zone, but the models have not locked in the exact location yet. Wichita is a shoo-in for at least 8 inches. Kansas City might see decent snow with 3 to 6 inches likely. St. Louis sits in the same boat, but if the storm shifts slightly north, 8 inches becomes very possible. Jackson, Missouri is looking at 10 inches minimum. Springfield, Missouri might approach 10 inches. Notice that very sharp cutoff on the south side where ice and sleet cut into snow totals. Little Rock might only see 2 to 4 inches of snow, but also 2 to 4 inches of sleet, plus a quarter inch of ice. That is a worse situation than a foot of pure snow. Much harder to deal with. Memphis and Nashville face similar complications. Nashville shows 4 inches of snow possible, but that rain, freezing rain and sleet cutoff is extremely tight. Nashville could get an inch or 2 while Clarksville gets 3 to 6 inches. 20 miles makes all the difference. These small details still have uncertainty. If that line shifts just 20 miles, the forecast changes dramatically for millions of people. That is why updated information matters so much right now. Models that just came in show slight southward trends after the big northward shift. Things are correcting back south a little bit. We are starting to become more confident about what will happen, but shifts will continue until the storm arrives. The Northeast is now definitely in play. The interior Northeast, like Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, is basically a done deal. Heavy snow is coming. The model agreement is too strong to doubt. Cincinnati totals are up a little bit to close to a foot. Columbus 10 inches, Dayton 10 inches, Indianapolis 6 to 9 inches. Some forecasters sit in areas where 1 to 7 inches is possible because that warm nose definitely brings some sleet and snow mixing into the picture. Between Washington, D.C. and Boston, if the current pattern holds and 15 to 18 inches falls, this will be the biggest snowstorm in like a decade for many people in that corridor. Richmond gets closer to the warm line. 9 inches is possible, but could be less. Washington, Hagerstown, Maryland, and Frederick look like shoo-ins for over a foot of snow. Same for Harrisburg, Allentown, and Scranton. The I-95 corridor from Washington through Philadelphia to New York and Boston remains the hardest forecast zone. All the complex factors converge here, but right now, significant winter storm with mostly snow appears likely. Tomorrow will bring the final forecast with one preferred model solution, one number to plan around. But today, right now, preparations need to happen for everyone in the impact zones. Comment below with your city and state. Tell me where you are watching from. I will provide you with updated specific information as new model runs arrive. The forecast is evolving hour by hour. Power outages are the biggest concern. Ice brings down trees. Trees crash into power lines. Electricity fails. In temperatures well below freezing, this becomes a life safety issue, not just an inconvenience. Have backup heating sources, have backup power, have enough supplies to last at least a week without electricity. For snow areas, prepare for travel impacts. Roads will be impassable in many locations. Airports will shut down. Interstate highways will close. If you need to travel this weekend, cancel those plans now. This is not whether you want to be caught driving in. The storm timeline matters. Friday night, things begin in Texas and Oklahoma. Saturday, the system intensifies and spreads northeast. Saturday night through Sunday, the ice storm peaks in the 2 hotspot zones. Sunday into Monday, the northeast gets hammered. Monday night, the system finally exits. Tuesday, we assess the damage. Model updates continue coming in every 6 hours. Each new run provides more clarity. The big picture is set. A major, impactful, dangerous winter storm is coming. The details about exact locations and amounts still have some wiggle room. Historic ice storm potential exists in 2 specific zones: northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee. That is Zone 1. North Carolina, northwest South Carolina, northeast Georgia, southern Virginia. That is Zone 2. Between these zones, problems exist, but those 2 specific areas face catastrophic ice of historic proportions. Conservative forecasts are showing extreme numbers. When the conservative guidance shows devastating impacts, you know the situation is serious. This is not hype. This is not exaggeration. This is meteorology pointing toward a significant damaging event. Preparation time is running out. Today is the day. Tomorrow might be too late in the hardest hit areas. Stores will be sold out. Roads will be dangerous. Waiting until the last minute puts you at risk. Make your plans now. Execute those plans today. Check on neighbors, especially elderly or vulnerable people who might need assistance. Share this information with friends and family in affected areas. The weather system does not care about our plans. It does not care about our schedule. It is coming regardless. Our only choice is how well we prepare. Stay tuned for constant updates. New videos are coming. Live streams will provide real-time information. Social media channels will have frequent posts. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation for weather coverage. What happens next week will be talked about for years. This storm has the potential to be one of the most impactful winter weather events of the decade. Not because of snow totals alone, but because of the ice. The devastating, infrastructure-damaging, power-killing ice. Are you prepared? Comment your location below. Let me know if you have questions about your specific area. Let me know what you are seeing out your window as this storm approaches. The weather community comes together during events like this. This is not goodbye. This is see you in the next update, which is coming very soon. The forecast continues to evolve. We continue to track every detail. Your safety is the priority. Your preparation is essential. Your awareness could save lives. Stay safe, stay warm, stay prepared, and stay tuned because the most